What's going on, noobs? I am Rory, the Perpetual Noob, and welcome to my Hollow Knight Godmaster Primer. The next 5 boss guides are all going to be from the Godmaster content pack, so I figured I'd say all of this once, and just link back to it in them. Godmaster is a Hollow Knight content pack that takes place almost exclusively in one area, Godhome. To access Godhome, we need to do a lot. We need the Dream Nail, we also need the Mothwing Cloak, and Mantis Claw, and finally, we need a simple key. For many of us, that means finding the 4th simple key because we've already used the other 3. To find this 4th simple key, we must go to the Colosseum of Fools, go through the Fighters area, with the bench, and then up to the other side of the Colosseum. There's a breakable wall here now, and a whole new little area on the other side. In this area, we'll find the Pale Lurker, a strange, solitary bug who does not want us catching her. We'll need to dodge her flailing and her expanding shuriken as we chase her down to kill her for the simple key she possesses. Once we have a simple key, we must travel to the far left of the Royal Waterways, into a new sub-area called the Junk Pit. To access this Junk Pit, we must break a wall near the middle, and the bench, of the Royal Waterways. Once we've reached the bottom of the Junk Pit, we find a large sarcophagus. Use the simple key to unlock the sarcophagus, and we find a God Seeker. They fall over and drop the Godtuner, an item which is kind of just a MacGuffin, but we have to pick up the Godtuner. We dream nail this fallen God Seeker, and we'll be transported to Godhome. In Godhome, we'll find a lot of shiny new stuff. The Pantheons, the Hall of Gods, this mysterious door, and a whole bunch of other God Seekers. We are free to leave and return to Godhome whenever we want. Each Pantheon, there are 5, is a boss rush type challenge involving bosses, mini-bosses, and dream warriors from the main game of Hollow Knight. There will be individual guides made for each Pantheon where I'll talk about how to access and defeat each Pantheon. We can complete the first 3 Pantheons in any order, and once we've beaten all 3, we unlock God Seeker mode, which is just us being sent straight to Godhome with all upgrades and going through all of this again with some different dialogue from the God Seekers. Yay. We have to defeat Pantheons 1 through 3 to access the 4th Pantheon. Then we have to beat the 4th Pantheon to unlock the 5th and final Pantheon. The first time we defeat Pantheon 1 through 4, another portion of the Godtuner lights up. Now let's talk about these bits here called bindings. See, Team Cherry didn't think it was difficult enough to have us fight several major enemies one after another with minimal resting points, so they added these bindings. We can impose 0 to 4 bindings on ourselves when we attempt each Pantheon. These bindings are set before we start a Pantheon and cannot be changed until we attempt the Pantheon again. The nail binding reduces our base nail damage to 80%, if our nail does less than 13 damage normally, or to 13 if our nail does 13 or more damage normally. Thank you to the data miners who found that. The shell binding reduces our maximum health to 4, though it could be adjusted through charms like Fragile/Unbreakable Heart. The charms binding unequips all charms, even Void Heart, if you have it. The soul binding limits us to only 33% of one soul gauge, no matter how many soul vessels we've got, meaning we can only heal once or cast one spell before we need to collect more soul again. If we beat a Pantheon with a binding set, that symbol will be displayed above the Pantheon's door. We can choose any combination of these bindings and their effects all stack. For those who want the ultimate challenge, we can choose all 4 bindings at the same time. And if we finish a Pantheon with all 4 bindings chosen, the Pantheon and binding symbols above the door light up. Everything isn't pain and suffering with these bindings. These bindings tie into the mysterious door at the bottom left of Godhome. For each binding we successfully complete a Pantheon with, up to 16, we fill an orb surrounding this door. Once we've completed 8 bindings, the door finally opens to, well, not much. But the lifeblood monster is here. From a combat perspective, once we open this mysterious door and shatter this shiny blue orb with our dream nail, lifeblood spreads throughout Godhome, and we can get lifeblood masks in the resting areas we find within each Pantheon. Completing 8 bindings grants us 3 lifeblood masks. Completing 12 grants us 4, and 16 bindings grants us 5 lifeblood masks. These lifeblood masks can make or break later Pantheon attempts. And once we complete all 20 bindings, we can access the Land of Storms. It's a small area that gives us the Weathered Mask Hunter's Journal entry. Boy, this hunter sure got around. The other door on the bottom floor of Godhome leads us to the Hall of Gods. In here, we can fight, or practice, every single enemy found in Godhome individually. To unlock an enemy here, we must encounter them in a Pantheon or beat them in the regular game. Then we get to fight each enemy at 3 different difficulty levels. Attuned. This is how we find this boss in the regular game. Except for Nightmare King Grim, who has reduced health in his attuned Hall of Gods form. And accepting, of course, the new bosses added with Godmaster. Their attuned forms are just, I guess, their original Godmaster forms. Ascended. Each enemy has more health, and all damage done to us by anything is doubled. So yes, Nightmare King Grim now does 4 damage, and falling into pits, spikes, etc. does 2. And many enemies have a modified arena, usually to our detriment. Radiant. All enemies and hazards defeat us in 1 hit, no matter how much health we have. All enemies have the same health and arenas as their ascended versions. We only unlock the Radiant version of an enemy once we've defeated their ascended version, but we can fight the ascended version right away if we want. Once every enemy is defeated at a certain difficulty level, we unlock the Void Idol. There is an attuned, ascended, and radiant version of this idol. It is important to note that this Void Idol changes shape and description, including in the Hunter's Journal, once we defeat every enemy at the Ascended and Radiant difficulties, meaning that if we do not first ensure that every enemy is defeated at the Attuned difficulty at least, we will miss out on seeing the Attuned Void Idol. Hidden away, very well hidden away, in the Hall of Gods is another, more exceptional challenge that only knights of great renown could even hope to accomplish. The Eternal Ordeal. This is a maddening challenge where we have to fight all sorts of Zotes for as long as possible. Seriously, this fight will go on forever if you are skilled enough. If we can defeat the magic number of 57 Zotes, we are rewarded with a new menu theme. Oh, and after we've beaten the first 3 Pantheons, there's a 2% chance of being sent to the Godtuner workshop, only once we dream nail the Godseeker in the Junk Pit, which provides us with a glimpse into the workshop where the Godtuner was created. And there's the Fluke Hermit, too. That's it for my primer about the Godmaster content pack. Thank you for joining me today, noobs. Stay tuned for the upcoming Hollow Knight Godmaster Pantheon guides. I'd love to hear your thoughts about this primer in the comments below. I am the Perpetual Noob, and I'll see you all next time.